Let's move on. We want to move on to Sunday, October 8th, and we head over to Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in London, England. The Jacksonville Jaguars 2-2 at the Buffalo Bills 3-1. 75 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 8 miles per hour. We get very nice weather here for these games in the UK, something that we are not used to. Let's get into the line history here for this one. And this is fascinating. So this is new territory. When we've got a capper like Troy Torrence who's building up his database, this is new territory with a team playing back-to-back weeks over in the UK. So we have a team that is comfortable, they're acclimated, and you have a team that won't be. And I was trying so hard to get the travel information for the Bills all day, going over the beat writers, still couldn't get it. This total is sitting at 48.5. It opened up at 48.5. It did drop to 47.5. It just bounced back up this morning to 48.5. It's 48.5 across the board here right now. We'll go into the spread for this one. This one is sitting now at 5.5. It opened up at 5.5. It opened up at minus 106 for the Buffalo Bills. There have been times where they've been juiced up to minus 114, and they're right back at minus 106. And I tell you, somebody's going to have to talk me off the Jaguars right now. That's what's going to have to happen here. This is the type of situation that I want to attack. And we talk about you never want to lose, ever want to lose. You want to win every bet. But what spots are you okay losing? I'm not okay losing on the Commanders minus 6.5, feeling good about themselves at home against a weak opposition, coming off their best game of the season. I know it came in L. That's not the spot I want to lose. But this might be a spot where I don't mind losing here. 15% of the tickets, 27% of the cash on the Jags. The Bills feeling so good about themselves off of a spectacular victory. And the Jaguars feeling good about themselves too and acclimated. And, Rand saying losing White is rough. We're going to talk all about that. Joe leaning Jags, needing more info. Terry Walker leaning Jags. Harold Williams says early, lean to the Jags. Nice C wants the Bills on an alt line. Coin saying Westgate open this at minus 4. Jared TG says, my brain says Bills, my gut says Jags. Sammy Comer says Jags first half plus 3.5. Says fading the Bills off that huge win, now traveling across the country, across the ocean, facing a team that's very familiar in these scenarios. See, in that case, Sammy, I want Troy to touch on this, is are their legs going to be heavier in the second half than they will in the first half? That would create a want or a need to have them full game instead of first half. Birdie says, again, this seems like a Jag spot, especially with all the Bills' secondary injuries. I'm not stepping in front of the Bills here. So many people betting Jags because they are staying in England. That's true. That's true. And this is why this show is so important to me. And I'm pretty selfish on this show. I want everything. I'm here listening to the cappers in the chat. I'm hammering questions to Troy. This is for me to succeed, and it has worked. Last year was a monster season here on this show. So the cash flow here, 15%, 27% of tickets on the Jaguars is right in my wheelhouse. Now, Birdie, if you're saying that you're hearing all these people on the Jags, I mean, that's certainly not what the books are indicating here. And I imagine that the public is not your colleagues and your friends. Let's get into the X's and O's here. Jaguars had a big bounce back performance in their week 4 23-7 win in London. Trevor Lawrence, 23 of 30 for 207 yards and a touchdown. He also ran 8 times for 42 yards. He's now 2-1 in London. Christian Kirk caught 8 passes for 84 yards. Evan Ingram caught 7 for 59 yards. Etienne ran 20 times for 55, caught 3 for 17. It wasn't a very good offensive performance, but the defense looked strong. But the question is the defense strong, or is Ritter trash in the Falcons offense garbage? These are the decisions you have to make on your own so that you can comfortably make a move and put your money on it. The Falcons didn't get a first down until early in the second quarter. Josh Allen was a monster. 3 sacks, 3 quarterback hits. As a team, they finished with 4 sacks and 7 quarterback hits. Picked off Ritter twice. Darius Williams returned one of them, 61 yards for a score. Andre Cisco had the other one. Jamal Agnew was inactive. He was listed as questionable. Parker Washington, his backup, suffered a knee injury in the first half. His first snap, I should say. And he is listed as week to week. And Doug Peterson said Agnew is good to go. Agnew will be in the lineup here. No team has played 2 games internationally in the same season, let alone back-to-back weeks. That's what we were talking about off the top. The Jaguars believe they'll hold a big advantage over the Bills as they're already acclimated to being overseas. And here we go. Bills come in off that very impressive 48-20 win at home over the Dolphins. We were all like, I don't remember being on the side with so many of my friends and colleagues as we were on the Bills this week. They won each of their last 3 games by at least 28 points. That's tied for the longest streak in the Super Bowl era. They've now won 8 straight at home and have beaten the Fish in 12 of their past 14. And they lose Tre'Davious White for the season with a torn Achilles, coming off his first healthy offseason since tearing his ACL in week 12 of 2021. The offense looks very strong. They scored on 8 of its first 9 possessions. They were 5 of 6 in the red zone. Josh Allen was 21 of 25 for 320 yards, 4 touchdowns, and no picks. He looks spectacular. Stephon Diggs got 6 for 120 and 3 touchdowns. His 4th career 3-touchdown game. Latavius Murray, James Cook, and Damian Harris all getting opportunities to run the ball now. The defense was very good. Held the Dolphins at 3 of 10 on 3rd down, 0 of 3 on 4th down. Let's talk about this Bills defense. They're generating pressure 46% of the time. That's the 2nd highest in the NFL. Their sack rate's at 12%. That's the highest in the NFL. They blitz on just 16% of their plays, the 2nd lowest in the NFL. This is a bad group. These guys are bad men. Now they lose Tre'Davious White. Against the Dolphins, they had 4 sacks, 9 quarterback hits. Dolphins had allowed just 1 sack in their first 3. Von Miller started the season on the PUP list due to the ACL and knee injury that he suffered week 12 of 2022, and he's going to practice this week. So he missed the first 4 games. He's eligible. He's going to practice. Poyer hurt right now. I don't know if he's going to get in, Von Miller. I'm curious to hear what you have to say, but I'm curious what you have to say about all of that, and I'm curious to hear what the chat's saying. So take it away, Troy. Jacksonville, Buffalo, Tottenham, Hotspur Stadium, London, England.
So I have a lot on this game. I'm going to try to condense it down. And the first thing that sticks out to me is the line being a little bit short. I just feel like the Bills laying this amount of points in this spot, I just feel like it should be bigger. I know we're probably getting a little bit of value because of what the Bills just did last week, and maybe a little bit on the opposite side too. Maybe that offsets and negates it to some extent. But Jags finally getting the win column, but they played the Falcons, and people are hammering the Falcons in the chat right now, saying that's what kind of opponent is that? And I kind of agree, man. I've been talking about how they're fraudulent for weeks now. No offense, overrated defense, and who I think is the worst quarterback in the NFL. And the score was a little bit misleading. I mean, supposedly advanced metrics had this game at 8. I know it's a 2-possession game, but that's just a little bit of a point there. But am I in the business of fading the Bills off that emotional win? I think so. I think that'd be the only way I could look. I mean, their blowout win was definitely no fluke. They dominated all phases of the game, but the psychology in this game is just crazy. Coming off that huge emotional win, now you have to fly across the ocean and go play in a country that's not your own. That's not an easy thing to do. I just really look at this number, and it just seems like it's going to be short. And to be honest, I would like to fade both these teams after a week they both won like they did last week. I really do think there's a big gap between these teams at the end of the day. I've been short in the Jags all season. Last week was, I think, the first week I didn't fade the Jags. But it's just, in all honesty, if I was going to fade the Bills, I think it would be with a team that could run the ball more, Jimmy. I want to see a rushing attack against the Bills because I think they're actually allowing the highest yards per carry right now in the NFL. I know teams are usually trailing behind them, so they're not getting a lot of carries in the first place. And if they are, there's probably hella room to roam because they're up by 20 points and they're they're running it on 3rd and 10. But I think what Sam said, I think in the chat, first half would make the most sense in this spot if I was going to take the Jags. So, seeing Sammy Comer on that, and I kind of would get behind the first half rather than the full game. Maybe they get slapped in the mouth and wake up at halftime, but I just can't get behind this Jags team in the full game.
I wish I could. I also feel like, and I know it's scary when you just watch the Bills put up, basically the total of this game against the Dolphins last week, but I think the under is becoming a heavier and heavier lean for me right now. The Jaguars know, Doug Peterson knows that he can't fight fire with fire. He's got to keep the Jaguars offense on the field. How do you do that? You do that with Travis Etienne. And I think it's a very interesting angle that's being talked about by Slatsy and Birdie in the chat. As Slatsy saying the Bills arriving for the first time should be all business. Jags week 2 of a vacation. I think if that's a little, I think that might be, and I said from the beginning of this breakdown that I need to be talked off the Jags. And I think that that's happened here. And I'm okay with that. I'm not betting the Bills under any circumstances. So right now, I'm going to be looking very, very closely at that under. The problem is, we need to sort of see this defense for the Bills without Tre'Davious White. I want to see it. Joe disagrees with the business vacation angle. That's part of the fun of this show, that nobody takes offense when we disagree. It's important to disagree. We want to hear all sides of the story, so it's important. Nuke Worker says Bills Mafia will be there under a TD. I have to take Buffalo if I play this. All right. And Rizzo said Jags stayed over in London after Sunday's game. Bills flying out on Thursday for what it's worth. I was trying to find that out, Rizzo. Thank you. For Thursday. God, for me, a hundo, I fly out on Wednesday. I don't understand why people wait so long. Now, they're not waiting until Friday. We've seen that debacle. Wow. All right. Birdie says that under does make sense. I just have concerns about the Bills' secondary. Is Miller playing? Jags have get their left tackle back, don't they? There's still question marks around what the offensive line is going to look like for the Jags at this point. Loyalty Chisel says historically we play the Bills tough, but they have our number. Okay, I'm very, very interested in the under, but this is not a bet I make tonight. Is there anything you want to have, at least as a lean or anything for us before we move on to the next game?
I'm leaning Jags first half, but no, I'm not going to be betting that game.
All right, let's move on.